Okay. What would you say about de-radicalization policy? Like in the earlier, we noted that about 120,000 were said to have surrendered, and a lot of time you hear about these former terrorists surrendered and they had been de-radicalized. Now, would you say that that approach has been effective, and place that side beside what is happening in Zamfara and some other mining sites across the country? Don't you think our approach in dealing with this has been weak?
Let me start by saying that, to my knowledge, there hasn't been any empirical evaluation, scientific evaluation of the implementation of our strategy so far. In other words, the Operation Safe Corridor that you referred to, we have not subjected it to an evaluation that would now give us in empirical terms whether we are doing well or whether we're not doing well. But having said that, based on my knowledge and understanding of the program, there are successes and then there are areas that we can improve upon. A lot of these 120,000 that the Chief of Defense Staff mentioned are in the northeast of Nigeria. In other words, it appears to me that we have focused on the implementation of our counter-terrorism strategy more in the northeast of the country than in other parts of the country. And given the fact that we have this terrorist challenge in other parts of the country, including North Central and Northwest, remember the Lakurawa group is there. Yeah. There is also the Ansaru group. And then there is the several other terrorist groups, some of them smaller, that exist in this North Central and Northwest of the country. So that's one major gap. We should have implemented the national counterterrorism strategy across the country and not just focus it on one part of the country, which is the northeast. The second thing is the gap between the federal and state governments. I believe that that gap needs to be closed. Remember that the terrorists don't exist at the federal level. They actually exist at the granular level. In fact, if we can even go beyond the state government and take it down to the local government or even lower than that, our traditional rulers, everybody needs to be involved. And so where you see more of the federal government speaking about counterterrorism, and you rarely hear the state governors discussing or even understanding the contents of the three instruments that we have for counterterrorism. And I'll quickly mention these three instruments. Earlier on, I spoke about the National Counterterrorism Strategy. The second one is the Policy Framework on Countering Violent Extremism. And then the last one is our Terrorism Prohibition and Prevention Law, which was amended in 2022. So we need to make sure that our governors, our local government chairmen, our traditional rulers, everybody, the media, the market woman, the policeman who is on the street, everybody understands the contents of these three documents so that the implementation is across the strata, not just at the federal level.
Still speaking about this lack of effective counter-terrorism strategies, this is a significant challenge, and the Nigerian government has been criticized for its approach in combating terrorism, with some arguing that it focuses more on military action and not enough in addressing the root causes of terrorism. Can you speak to that?
Yes. So when I talked of the three instruments, those who came up with the strategy understood that it should not be military approach alone, that the military approach should be one component, and then the other soft approach should be another component. And so they came up with the National Counterterrorism Strategy, which essentially has a significant component of the military approach and some soft approach. But then the Policy Framework on Countering Violent Extremism, almost in its entirety, is really about the soft approach. Again, unfortunately, we haven't implemented it as fully as we should. The Chief of Defense Staff has been quoted where he indicated that we are only implementing about 20% of our soft approach, which is the non-kinetic component, and 80% of.
Yep. Okay, Mr. Adamu, I think we seem to be having challenge there. Quite interesting that our approach in dealing with counter-terrorism, the radicalization has not been that effective. And I find it quite interesting when he said the states and the local government have not been incorporated into this counter-terrorism.
Well, military action seems to be one angle that the government has been very strong on. And people that have observed this have said, you know, it should take another. If you're using one angle to tackle it and it's not working, maybe you should use the softer approach, just like our guest is saying. But I think we have him back now. So, Mr. Adamu, can you hear us?
Yes, I can hear you.
Asking him a question. Has he finished on that?
Yes. No, you were kind of delivering your thoughts, or maybe you just conclude on your thoughts.
Yes, I was saying that we're at the moment, according to, and I was mentioning that even the Chief of Defense Staff said this publicly, he believes that we're implementing 80% kinetic and 20% non-kinetic, when it should be the other way around. The non-kinetic should be 80%, and then the kinetic should be just about 20%. This is what Pew Research has recommended. Unfortunately, we're not doing that. So going forward, I expect to see especially the federal government, take these three instruments that I've mentioned, ensure that the state governors, the local government chairmen, our traditional rulers, other influence makers within the society understand the content of these three documents so that they support in its implementation. I would want a situation where if in any market in Nigeria, let's say a market in Benin, in Edo State, a woman sees someone she believes is a terrorist, she knows the number to call, she knows what to do. Unfortunately, the situation is not like that today.